Welcome to I Change the Narrative, a podcast for and about Black men, inspiring, supporting, and empowering Black men and Black boys. This episode of I Change the Narrative is sponsored by So Organic, So Suave, also known as Sauce. Sauce is a luxury hair care and skin care refuge for those with thick hair and melanin-rich skin. From healthy beard growth to top-of-head hair styling to an illuminating skincare regimen, Sauce essentially will naturally enhance your outer appearance to strengthen your inner confidence. Sauce invites you to accept the authenticity and real self-care and embrace your best. You can find Sauce's award-winning grooming essentials online at sossd.co. Again, that's sossd.co. You can also follow Sauce on Instagram for the latest in product news and updates at sossd.co. Elevate your grooming with Sauce today. Today's topic is restoring the male image. Before we start the conversation, I want to ask our special guest to tell us about himself and the work that he's involved in that lends itself to the topic and the lived experience. Thank you so much, Dr. Ellis.
Hey, it is an absolute pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me on your show today. I've been anxiously awaiting this opportunity to chat with my sister on this podcast. And so I am Dr. Alex Ellis. I am the founder of the Tide to Greatness nonprofit organization whose vision and mission is to impact the image, character, and esteem of inner city high school males. I also serve as an associate pastor of a church called Abundant Life in New Brunswick, New Jersey. I am also an entrepreneur. I have a men's accessory line called Simply Ellis, where we feature some exquisite men's accessories, silk ties and pocket squares and cufflinks and all of those neat things that cause men to take their image and style to the next level. And so I get the privilege of traveling the country, being able to talk to and inspire young men and women to present the best of who they are to the world. And it is an absolute honor to be with you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for just agreeing to say yes. So let's get started with the conversation. Dr. Ellis, you authored the book, Restoring the Male Image, A Look from the Inside Out. Talk to us about why your book is necessary for the times.
So as I started with a custom clothing line, right? And so there were so many men that I would meet across the country that would say, you know, Dr. Ellis, I'm going to a wedding. What should I wear? I have a new opportunity. I have a job interview. What's appropriate? Or a wife will come to me and say, you know, well, listen, I'm getting my husband some things for the holidays, or his birthday is coming up. Where should I begin to give him this image makeover? And so there were so many questions that were being asked of me repeatedly. I said, you know what, let me put together this book that would be a guide to style and fashion. And so as I began to answer some of those questions and give these, you know, tips to really enhance your image as a distinguished gentleman, my book coach that I was working with at the time, you know, she began to ask me what was my inspiration behind the book. Why did you want to write it? And so we really got down to the nitty gritty of, you know, my passion for fashion. And so all of it, if I can be really honest with you, I was a young man. So I am 6'7". So I'm very tall. And so there was a time when I really struggled with my height. I really struggled with standing out in the crowd.
Mhm.
When you're a teenager, you want to blend in with everybody else. And so I
Right.
really didn't like, being very tall. And then I wasn't a basketball player, right? That just wasn't my thing. And
Right.
so just really had some awkward moments as a teenager. And I really didn't like what I saw when I looked in the mirror, right? So I was very
Mhm.
tall and painfully skinny. And so I had these image issues. And so
Okay.
I ran into a basketball teacher one day, about me, a gym teacher. And she was a Philippine woman, a very short, petite Philippine woman. And I remember her looking up at me, and I unconsciously was, shrugging my shoulders, kind of looking down,
Mhm.
just didn't want to embrace the fullness of who I was physically. And
Right.
so she says, I need you to stand up straight. She says, never be ashamed of your height. That's how God made you. And
Yes.
it really stuck with me, right? And
Mhm.
I really began to embrace that I was uniquely made to be tall, and I needed to own the fullness of who I was. And so I just started going on this journey of self-discovery. And so, I love style, I love fashion, but if you're not careful, those things can be used to cover up, to camouflage
Mhm.
insecurities that you have
Mm.
internally. And
Yeah.
so I had to do the work internally so that I didn't just look well on the outside, but that I was whole and healthy, both mentally and emotionally. Because if
Yeah.
you're not careful, you can hide behind a Gucci hoodie,
Mhm.
or some name brand sneakers or something like that, or even a custom suit. Let's take it professional,
Right.
but it was my journey inward to make sure that I was whole as a man. And so that's what I write about. Thus the title of the book, Restoring the Male Image, and the picture. Let me give it. There you go. And so the
Yes.
picture is of a gentleman dressed in a suit,
Mhm.
but there is this light in the center of his chest. And the
Mm.
idea is, you can be impressed with this guy with this really tailor-made suit, and the pocket square and the tie and all of that stuff. But the real brilliant, amazing part of him, it's what's on the inside of him. And that's where the real image of a man lies. It doesn't
Mhm.
lie in the label of your suit. I don't care if this is Dolce and Gabbana or this is Ferragamo. Like that doesn't matter. The most beautiful part about you is the person that God has created you.
Yes. Absolutely. You spoke about you had to do the work. Talk to us about what kinds of work that you had to do in order for the outer appearance, the inner appearance to match up with each other.
For some reason, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Is it me?
It's
I
probably
can't
you.
hear you
Can
now.
I can hear you. Ugh.
And I know you're saying something amazing.
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You can't hear me? Check yours. Let me see. We're up.
I still can't hear you. Let me see. Is it
For
me?
those of you that are listening, please type if you
Okay,
can
so my
hear
mic
us.
is all the way up.
Okay, mine too. Let's see. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I see that we have a comment. Tony, can you hear us, please? Let us know if you can
Should
hear.
I log in and log back out? Log out and log back in?
They said they can hear us both. Yes. Do that.
Log out?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So right now we are sorry that we're having technical issues. So if you would just be so patient with us, we're getting that straight right now. I see that Tony, thank you for listening, Tony. The costume can truly be an illusion for those who see their own selfish needs. Tony, just let me know if you can hear me. Okay, while he's logging in and logging out. So you can hear us both. Thank you so much. We are just waiting for Dr. Ellis to log back in. I hope you all can remain with us while we take care of this technical issue. And here he is. Just need to pull him up. Thank you all for being so patient. There you are. We are back. Can you hear me, Dr. Ellis?
Okay, I hear you. Yes.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you. So, what I
Awesome.
was saying was you spoke about you had to do some inner work. Talk to us about what that inner work included.
Sure. So, number one, I had a friend that said to me, hey, you always dress nice, you always look amazing, but I just want to make sure that that there isn't something deeper there. I'm like, what do you
Mm,
mean? And so she says, I'm really concerned about you, and I want to make sure that the image that you're portraying is really the real you, right?
mm,
And I think part of the work is having people around you that love you enough to tell you the truth. And I think
mm.
so often we have people around us that are always singing our praises, that are always clapping and celebrating, and you need that support.
Yeah.
We all do. At the same time, you need people to say, "Hey, you got a booger in your nose," or you know what, the way you responded to that waitress in the restaurant, we that's not cool. Like we don't
Yeah.
talk to people like that. Like
Right.
the way you're responding to your girlfriend, how you're treating your wife, like that's not cool. Like, come on, man. We do better than that. So
Yes.
again, so I think the part of it is making sure you have the right people in your circle, right? People that love you enough to tell you the truth. And then I think that we have to um, be willing to do the work to make sure that you are externally, but that mentally you're in the right place, that you walk in forgiveness,
Mm,
that you get the type of counseling and
mhm,
therapy that you need. And I know that that can be taboo in some of our circles, especially as Black men. But when
mhm,
I tell you counseling and therapy has been one of the things that I have ever done, and you're
mhm.
never too young to try it. Now, let me also say this because I know that there are some young brothers that are that are podcast watchers for you as well. You
Yeah.
know, first of all, if your parents or if your dad has through the job that out so that's not a personal expense. If you're in a situation where you say, hey, listen, um my parents don't have that type of coverage through their jobs, then I would suggest if you are a member of a local church,
Mhm.
sometimes local churches have counseling services as a part of one of the ministries at the church. Try that as an option. If not, I would my research to see what type of free services exist in your local city
Mhm.
to try to get the help that you need. And so again, Don't just say, oh, that costs too much, I can't afford it, so I'm not going to get it. No, do the research,
Mhm.
because when I tell you, there are some things that you might not have the language for. Some things you can't. Let me say it this way.
Mhm.
Bing, it just hit me. There are some parts of your body that you can't see yourself
Mm.
without the aid of a mirror.
Mm.
You hear me? Like, I don't care if you
Yes.
got 20/20 vision. There's some parts of my body that I need a mirror because I can't see it by myself.
Right.
And so aspects of you that you need somebody else to take a look at this. This is the trauma that I suffered as a kid. Help
Mm.
me unpack this. This is an abusive relationship that I was in. Help me work through this. I always seem to end up dating a girl that has a lot of drama. Like, why
Mm.
is that? Why is that a repeated pattern in my life? Help me see. Is it just them because they crazy? Or is there something in me because the common denominator in the last three relationships I was in is me? And it's easy, but at some point, you got to take 100% responsibility for your life and start looking inward.
Absolutely. I there was something that you said a little bit earlier that I love and I appreciate. You said you have to deal with forgiveness, that unforgiveness in your life. So I really, really
Yes,
appreciate that, and I know the listeners do. One of the listeners said earlier, he said in reference to your intro, he said the costume can truly be an illusion for those who see their own selfish needs. So thank you for that, Tony. My next,
absolutely. Yes,
yeah,
very well said.
yes.
Very
How
well
does
said.
image play its importance in the lives of Black men inside and out? How does image
So, the,
play its importance?
sure. So the truth is, people judge you simply based on how you look,
Mhm.
right? So you could speak four different languages. You could be a humanitarian. You can give back to society. I mean, you can be an amazing man, but if you look hood, oftentimes people will treat you hood. Do I think that that's fair? Absolutely not. That's not
Mhm.
fair. You should not judge a book by its cover, but it is
Mhm.
an unfair reality that exists in our culture.
Mhm.
And clothing and your appearance helps to influence how people perceive and even engage with you. And so what
Mhm.
I say is use your image to work for you and not against you,
Mm.
right? So in certain spaces, um they're like for example, certain restaurants you go in, there's a dress code for that restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Certain clubs you go into, all right, they don't allow you to wear sneakers. They want you wear, hard bottom leather shoes, right?
Mhm.
And
Right.
so in certain circles, as I teach young people, when you're going on certain interviews with companies, for those interviews there is a particular you know requirement as far as your attire that they're expecting.
Right.
And so it's important that you're able to pose with when necessary, right? It doesn't compromise who you are, but you just know in this particular context, in this particular environment, I know that a certain attire is required. And so even in that, I want to put my best foot forward. So I show up ready. I show up looking professional. I show up well groomed and polished, because I want to be perceived a particular way, and so I show up ready to take advantage of that opportunity. And so I think it's important for young men or adult men as well
Yes.
that you show up ready, right? And so it doesn't mean that every opportunity come out with a three-piece suit on and a shirt and tie. That's not what I'm saying. But what I
Right.
am saying is your image is important. So always express the best of who you are, right? So we're not going to the grocery store in pajamas, right? So that,
Right.
even if your hair is in locks, or if your hair is cornrowed, right? That's not meant to last 3 months, right?
Right.
You got to
Mm-hmm.
maintain it. I know a lot of guys. I'm bald, as you can see, but I know there are a lot of guys with natural hairstyles, right? So they're kind of letting their hair kind of just naturally grow out. At the same time, that doesn't mean that you don't have to maintain your hair, right? So if you're letting your hair grow out, you can still have a line, right? Shape it
Right.
up. Um, you still wash it and condition it, right? So that there is a sheen to it, and that it's healthy, and that it smells good, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Like those things are important. No one is saying that you can't self-express. I'm just encouraging you to let it be the best of who you are. How about just ironing and pressing your clothes so that they're not wrinkled? Let's wash them. Let's make sure that they're clean. And I know that some of this might seem basic and fundamental, but
Mm-hmm.
I've learned you can't take anything for granted. Um,
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
many of our young people today grow up in some very interesting circumstances, and you can't just assume that. Right? And so then that's where we as elders, and I mean male and female in our communities, that's where we step up to
Right.
say, hey, listen, this is what's appropriate and not appropriate. What you wear for an interview is not what you wear to a club on a Friday night, right?
Right.
So like I
Yeah.
tell young men, um, it's cool that you like the Lakers, but if you're going on an interview, you don't have a Lakers t-shirt on underneath a white dress shirt, right? I
Right.
could see the Lakers logo through your shirt. I tell young ladies, if you're
Mm.
wearing a white blouse, you don't wear a red bra underneath, because I can see your bra a mile away. Right. And
Yeah.
so these are things that we've got to teach and train our young people, not from a judgmental, what's wrong with you? You need to get yourself together. You looking crazy. No, but out of love and concern, that we
Mm-hmm.
come alongside of them and make sure that they have the tools and the information that they need to move forward and advance in life.
Right. I like that. Approach them with concern. That's good.
Absolutely.
That's good. Um,
Absolutely.
you spoke about ironing. Recently, I saw a conversation on Twitter, and there was a poll going, um, whether or not people still ironed. Many of them said, "What is an iron?" And of course, those were our 20 somethings, and some of them were in their early 30s. And not to put anybody down, but the age played a role in this conversation, so that's how come I
Sure.
know they were 20s and 30s. Of course, the 40 somethings, yes, they were taught how to use an iron, but
Right.
our 20s, early 30s, iron, they didn't know how to use one. So talk
Wow.
to us about. I understand that you have an acronym for image. Explain that.
So my acronym for image is: the I stands for integrity, the M stands for manhood, the A stands for authority, the G for generosity, and the E for excellence. Right?
Mm.
Because when it comes to image, we can automatically go to a default of, something that we see walking down a runway, right? This big
Mhm.
high fashion image. But there's so much more that a real image involves. right?
Mm.
And I want to
Yeah.
make sure that even as I was, giving information on, wardrobe basics and certain things that every young man needs to have in his wardrobe, I wanted to make sure that I didn't end there,
Right.
that they didn't have a polished image, but yet they were cheating on their taxes, right? Or
Mhm.
um, lacked integrity that
Yeah.
a real man possessed. Um,
Right.
or that you thought manhood was predicated upon, how many girls you smashed, or, you carrying a gun, or this male bravado, this um, overemphasized masculinity, toxic masculinity. I wanted to make sure that they really knew what manhood was about, and that they were generous,
Hmm.
because manhood is not about you having an Instagram post with a stack of money to your ear, but
Right.
that you were generous, that you were willing to give back and to help other people, and that you were generous with not only your money, but you're generous with your time and your gifts and talents. That
Mm.
you operated in excellence, right? That
Yeah.
no matter what it was, whether you were showing up in a relationship, or whether you were showing up in class, whether you're showing up for a day's work at your job, that whatever you do, that you would do that in excellence, that it would
Mhm.
be the very best of who you are that you brought to the table. And that was my best for today. But I promise you, if you give me another shot tomorrow, I'm coming back even better than what I delivered today. That it was that's excellence. That it
Mhm.
wasn't making excuses. And oh, because I overslept, or oh, because no one ever taught me, or oh, because of where I came from, or oh, because of my dad not being in my life, but that you didn't use those as an excuse
Right.
for you operating in excellence. And so it's a holistic, the book Restoring the Male Image is a holistic approach to image. And I thought that was something that was unique to
Hmm.
bring to the marketplace, as
Yes.
opposed to just another style, how to dress for a wedding, how to dress for an interview. I thought it was a holistic approach to image that was very much needed, especially for our community.
Right. That's good. That's good. You talk about in your book, um, about Black men dressing for their appointment with destiny. I love that. Can you talk about that figuratively and literally? What do you mean by that?
Sure. So when I say dressing for destiny, I always say you don't dress for where you are, you dress for where you're going.
Mm,
Right.
that's
So I,
good.
I have I have a nephew that was going a number of years ago. He was going on an interview with McDonald's. Right. So in his neighborhood, there was a local McDonald's, and he was going on an interview. So he says, "Uncle Alex, what do I wear for my interview at McDonald's?"
Mhm.
So I said, a suit, shirt, and tie. Uncle Alex, like, you're so outdated. Uncle Alex, it's McDonald's.
Right.
I said, yeah, I get it, but do you want to be on fries for the rest of your life?
Oh.
He was like, no. As a matter of fact, I want to own a McDonald's. All right. I said, great, awesome. So I want you
Mhm.
to dress like you're going in for an interview to be the owner,
Wow.
not to be a kid working fries. Don't dress for where you are, but dress for where you're going. And I believe that the future is so bright, and there's so much potential and so much hope and
Mhm.
such bright futures for our young men and women. And I think it is imperative that they begin to carry themselves with an
Mhm.
eye toward where it is they desire to go. And I think that if you stay ready, you never have to get ready, right? I
Yeah.
think that if you are always bearing that in mind,
Mhm.
that yeah, I'm going somewhere, my future is bright, you know, you never know who you're going to bump into, you never know, and whether you're on a college campus. And so, you know, that's another thing. I speak at college campuses across the country, and I see some interesting things on our college campuses, and I'm saying, like, you never know who's going to be walking through campus. You never know who's going to show up um, to as an adjunct professor or a class that you're in, or a guest lecturer for a class that you're in, and you're in class with pajamas on. No, come
Yeah,
on, we're better than that.
we are.
There's got to be something in you that says that no, I can't show up like that. That's not who I am. We're better, and that's not an arrogant statement, but it is an awareness
Right.
of where you come from and your people and the legacy that you carry, and that when you leave your house, you're not just representing yourself, but you're representing your family and your community. And that just requires the best of who you are. It just does.
Right. Right. All of what you're saying makes perfect sense. But for our 20-year-olds that are influenced by social media, our professional athletes, our influencers, our celebrities, what do you say how do you get them to their next? Help them out.
Yeah, so there are a lot of mixed signals
Uh-huh.
that our young people get, right?
Mhm.
So I tell them, so for example, I'm going to, today is Saturday. I'm Tuesday. I'm on a
Mhm.
flight to Edward Waters University in Jacksonville, right? So this
Mhm.
is a
Yeah.
historically Black college in Jacksonville. I'm going to be talking to an event sponsored by student activities.
Okay.
And you know, one of the things I'm going telling them is like, okay, so when you see Beyonce on stage, or when
Mhm.
you see Rihanna video, or when you see Jay-Z in a video with a basketball jersey on and a gold chain, or you see Rihanna in some very short dress,
Mhm.
or fishnet stockings or something, or Cardi B in something with all her cheeks out, you know,
Yeah.
when they go to a business meeting, right? When they're
Mhm.
meeting with Netflix, or when they're meeting with a potential sponsor for their next tour, or when they're meeting with their record label, trust me, they are wearing what you saw them wear to the BET Awards.
Right.
And
Right.
so when I'm talking to 20-year-olds, I'm saying there's time and place. There's time and place. And so you got to know that, you know, there's a time when you want to, you know, kind of do that kind of risque thing.
Mhm.
And then there's another time when you got to show up in a professional manner, because that's what the situation requires.
Mhm.
And if you think the Timberlands A-shirt is just the attire straight apart, that's not reality. And so what I encourage them to do is I encourage them to diversify your wardrobe, right?
Diversity.
And so you need more in your wardrobe than sneakers and camouflage pants. I
Mhm.
have sneakers, I have camo pants, I have boots, I have tees. So I don't want you to think that I don't wear that stuff. Like, I wear it too, but I know
Right.
there's a time and place. Time and place. Time and
Time.
place. And so I want you to know that there's a time and place for different attire. And it's
Mhm.
important that you put those things in your wardrobe, so that when the opportunity presents itself for a professional setting, that you're ready and you're not like, oh my God, I gotta go shopping. Oh my God, I don't know what to wear. I have nothing to wear. I'm going to be embarrassed. Like, you want to make sure you have those things in your arsenal so that when calls for it, all you got to do is grab and go.
Right. Have you received any pushback from what you're saying?
Sure. So there are those that feel um, that I am who I am. Like,
Right.
I don't have
Yeah.
to adjust to corporate demands, or I don't have to adjust to a
Hmm.
Eurocentric image. I get to, I wear what I want. I leave my hair how I want to leave my hair. If I want to have a earring in both ears, one in my nose and one on my tongue, that's my choice.
Right.
Totally agree with you. It is your choice to show up however you choose to show up. You have that right and that luxury.
Hmm.
What I am saying is, though, for those people that are looking to be gainfully employed in certain spaces, it's just the reality that that's the culture of that particular corporation. Now, if you're going into um, the arts,
Hmm.
or if you're going into music, then those areas, they're not as conservative in their attire. But if you're
Right.
going into banking, if you're going into law, if you're going into some of those other professions where the attire is more conservative, it is what it is.
Right.
And so, what I'm encouraging you to do is, and I'm not saying that to get in those spaces, you can't wear locks, or you got to straighten your hair. Um,
Mhm.
what I am saying is, make sure your stuff is tight, right? So
Right.
make sure your locks are done and that they're fresh and that they're maintained and those types of things. Yes, that's important. But do your research, right? Find out what's the climate
Mhm.
concerning attire, and then make your choice, right? Make your choice whether you feel this environment is too restrictive for how you want to show up, then maybe this isn't the company for you. Maybe you want to go to a Black owned company, or maybe you want to be an entrepreneur and start your own where you can make your own rules.
Right.
But what I am saying is do the research, right? Do the work and
Yes.
find out what's going on, so you don't just show up like, oh my God, nobody told me, I didn't know. Know what you're getting into and know how to move in those spaces. But I would also encourage you to do, sometimes it
Hmm.
means dialing back just a little to get
Hmm.
in there, to secure that bag, right?
Yeah.
To get in there, to secure the experience, to
Yes.
get in there, to secure the knowledge of the game. Oh, this is how that works, and that's how they do
Mhm.
this, and this is how they
Mhm.
move, and blah blah blah. Okay, boom, got what I need. I'm out, right?
Right.
But you're
Hmm.
leaving equipped. I got enough
Hmm.
starter money for my business. I've got enough wisdom and expertise. I'm tenured. I've been doing this for the last 10 years. I know how this game operates. I know how to set up. I know how to file. I know how to organize my company because I've done it working for someone else. Then you
Right.
could venture out, do your own thing, make your rules, and kill the game.
Yes.
But sometimes it means on the front end, slightly adjusting
Hmm.
just to navigate in that space. But the whole time you have your end in mind. The whole time I'm not looking to stay here. I'm looking to get what I need so that I can boss up on the end.
Right. Where
Yeah.
did you learn all of this from? You're giving some great advice, but who taught you?
And so it's how much time do we have? I mean, there were so many people
Wow.
that I've learned from,
Hmm.
and you know what? The other thing too, I've learned from mistakes made.
Mm.
Honest adults, we didn't always get it right. And that's why I say suspend your judgment of young people. Stop
Mm.
always critiquing and always pointing your finger, right? Because
Yeah.
we made mistakes. That's why many of us have the wisdom that we do now. That's why, as a parent, you could say, nope, something about her. I'm telling you, nope, something about him. I can see it a mile away. Why?
Right.
Because you got pregnant when you were 14 because of a guy
Mm.
that talked just like that. So now you can see it. But don't be so judgmental, right? We
Right.
learn through mistakes, and through the mistakes that we make, we find out what was the lesson in it. And we
Yes.
learn the lesson and we move forward with that awareness in mind. So, I've made tons of mistakes and I've learned from that. And then there were just some real amazing people. There were great supervisors that I worked for.
Hmm.
There were great entrepreneurs that I had the opportunity to work with. My parents owned a restaurant for 20 years, and
Wow.
working with them and leading people, managing people, taught me so much. Of course, I've been in leadership. Like I said to you at the beginning, I'm an associate pastor of a church, and so I lead and train people there. And
Yeah.
so there's so much I've learned, and just through life, you pick up so much. And as Dr. Maya Angelou says, as you learn, teach. As you
Mm.
get, give. Right? Did y'all hear me? That's a bar right there. It ain't
Yes.
my words; those are hers.
Right.
As you learn, teach. As you get, give. And so as you grow and mature in life, then it
Hmm.
becomes your responsibility to turn around and make sure that you pass that on to the next generation.
Wow. This is good. Before we go, what advice do you have for our Black men as it relates to investing in their personal image? I know there's some do's and don'ts. So, what are some of those?
So let me say this. I did an interview with Hot 97. Where are you based?
Maryland.
You're in Maryland. Okay.
Yeah.
So Hot 97 is, really big radio station in New York. And I was in this mother comes on and she says, "Hey, Dr. Ellis, I hear what you're saying about dressing and doing all of this stuff, but I just don't have the money
Mm.
to buy a suit for my son." I said, "Okay." I says, "Well, listen, you express that you're a single parent mother, and my hat is off to you. Congratulations on all the work that you're doing to, develop this amazing son." I said, "But just humor me." I said, "Christmas was a couple months ago. Did you get your son something for Christmas?" So she
Mhm.
says, "Yeah, of course I got my son something for Christmas." And so I says, "Well, what did you get your son for Christmas?" So she says, "I got him what do you call that? It's a X, a Y, Z." I said, "A Xbox?" "Yeah, I got him an Xbox. I got him an Xbox." I said, "Okay. Um, I'm not a big gamer, but I know those things aren't cheap. How much was your Xbox?" Well,
Mhm.
I stayed online on on uh on the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and I got it on sale. And I only paid $199. I says, "Ma'am, do you know that you can get your son a brand new suit for $99 at Macy's or K&G?"
Mhm.
The phone got real quiet. But so it wasn't a matter of money, right? Money wasn't an issue. It was a matter of priority. It
Nice.
was what was important to you at the time. And
Mhm.
so when we talk about, my words, and to young adults, I'm saying invest in where you're going. You
Mm-hmm.
don't need another pair of Jordans, right? Another
Right.
pair of jeans. Like you got that stuff. What I'm saying is you're at an age where a diversified wardrobe is important.
Yes.
That you have jeans and sneakers and hoodies and all of that really cool stuff. I love it all. But that you also have a navy blue blazer like I have on and some gray slacks,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you also
Right.
have a navy blue suit or a black suit,
Right.
right? That if you need to go on an interview or if you have to go, even if you don't go to church, somebody dying at some point, you go to a funeral.
Right.
That you're not at the funeral with a polo shirt on and some jeans.
Yeah.
That if someone says, "Hey, listen, I really like, I hear that you're doing well in school or, whatever, really impressed with what you're doing. Hey, I got this event that I'm going to. I'd love for you to come with me. I want to introduce you to some people." And you just caught out like you ain't got nothing to wear. Like again, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So what I'm
Right.
saying is instead of getting another piece of jewelry, another whatever, another
Right.
game, invest in some other things that are moving you closer to you fulfilling your destiny. Like your future is bright, and I want to make sure that you show up ready, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
start making investments toward that end.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Um, you know what,
Yeah.
Dr. Ellis, that is our time. But before we go, please tell our listeners how they can connect with you, how they can become involved in Tied to Greatness, how they can get their children involved, and so forth.
Sure. So you can follow me on all social media platforms, right? At Dr. Alex Ellis. So that's DrAlexEllis, right? And so that's Twitter, that's Facebook, that's Instagram, that's LinkedIn. Everything is under Dr. Alex Ellis. And then I have my website, right, which is a link to all things Dr. Alex Ellis. From me speaking to Tied to Greatness, all of that stuff is on dralexellis.com. Again, DrAlexEllis.com. Let me also say this.
Yeah.
I want to commend you for this platform that you've established. Being a mother of a
Mm-hmm.
millennial son,
Yes.
um, it's easy for us to complain. It's easy for us to just kind of look at our young people and shake our heads. But I really commend you for, taking the charge to say, hey, listen, I'm going to do what I can to
Yes.
provide support, to provide light, to
Yes.
provide tools.
Yes.
Um, for the next generation and for our community in general. Thank you for the change that that you're offering the world, right?
Yes.
It's that there is never a monument built for a critic, right? So
Mm.
the fact that you don't send someone to line chewing gum complaining, right?
Right.
But you say,
Right.
no, I'm going to use my influence in a
Yes.
positive way, and I'm going to leave our community better than I found it. And so for that, my sister, I salute you. Job well done. Thank you for allowing me to have a part to play in the change that you're bringing to the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you for saying yes to being on the show, for changing the narrative. And lastly, we always applaud when our Black men come onto the show and they commit to being here, they commit to the topic. So that means so much to me, and that means so much to the listeners. So thank you. If you've enjoyed the show, please let us know. We would love to shout you out and post your comments. If you or someone you know is changing the narrative, please contact us at iChangeTheNarrative@gmail.com. We would love to share your story. For I Change the Narrative merchandise, visit iChangeTheNarrative.org. We want to thank our sponsors for supporting the show. Thank you to our sponsors, So Organic, So Suave. You can follow Sauce on Instagram for the latest in product news and updates at sossd.co. You can meet us here Saturday, October 30th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, we won't be on next Saturday, but we will be on October the 30th. So thank you all for listening. And thank you again, Dr. Ellis, for your contributions to I Change the Narrative. Thank you.